Hey. Time for another wild ride from our little corner of the internet. Apparently, Facebook Marketplace really does have everything. Air fryers, vintage lamps, and apparently, infidelity waiting to be uncovered. Today's story proves that if second-hand furniture is your thing, maybe second-hand relationships could be too. So here's what happened. My wife was secretly seeing her ex. I told his wife, and she made sure both of their lives fell apart. It took me a while to calm down enough to write this out. Honestly, I've never been this furious in my life, and I've got no outlet for all this anger. Posting here feels like the closest thing to venting in person, though I'm not sure if it'll make me feel better or worse by the time I finish. I'm 30, male, married to Marie, also 30, for 5 years now. We met in college and tied the knot as soon as we graduated. Before we met, Marie had just ended a year-long relationship with a guy named Travis. According to her, it was short but intense, and it ended after he cheated, blowing things up in dramatic fashion. 6 months later, I met Marie, and we started dating 2 months after that. That's when she told me all about Travis, how things ended, and how she despised him. She swore they hadn't spoken since, and I believed her completely. I never thought about him again, until I found out they'd recently started talking again. The discovery came while we were selling some stuff around the house on Facebook Marketplace. My cousin called saying he wanted to buy our microwave. It worked fine, but Marie wanted one that better fit our kitchen's look. I don't use Facebook, so she'd listed all our items through her account. I told my cousin I'd check whether she'd already promised it to someone and get back to him. I grabbed her laptop, logged into Facebook, her account's always signed in, and went to her inbox, because marketplace messages land in the same place as regular DMs. While looking for messages about the microwave, I saw her chatting with Travis. That microwave disappeared from my thoughts instantly. At first, I wasn't sure it was the Travis, but I knew his full name, and sure enough, it was him. I opened the conversation right away. She'd never mentioned they were back in contact. The first few messages seemed harmless. He reached out first, just asking how she was. She replied like she was catching up with an old acquaintance. Not overly friendly, but also not showing the disgust she'd once claimed. I figured maybe enough time had passed that she'd moved past the resentment. If that's where it ended, I wouldn't even have brought it up. But then it shifted. Travis started making comments about missing her, regretting losing his chance with her, and generally pushing the boundaries. I expected her, as a married woman, to shut it down. Instead, she responded with "us" and laughing emojis. She clearly enjoyed the attention, especially from someone who had wronged her before. At that point, there was no proof they'd met up or done anything physical, but I knew the direction it was heading. I reread the messages several times, took pictures, and waited for her to come home. When she did, I confronted her, explaining how I'd found out and that it bothered me she never told me she was talking to her ex. She acted slightly offended, saying it wasn't something worth announcing. I told her my main issue. Travis didn't have innocent intentions, and she wasn't discouraging him. She claimed it was just friendly chat and that she'd shut it down if he ever tried anything. I pointed out that he had tried, and she hadn't. She still insisted it was harmless. We argued until I asked how she'd feel if I was chatting with my ex. She admitted she wouldn't like it, so she promised to stop talking to Travis. I wanted to believe her, but I also wasn't about to be naive. So, yes, I started checking her Facebook now and then. Call it snooping, call it a breach of trust. There wasn't much trust left anyway. For a while, it looked like she'd kept her word. But I suspected she might have moved the conversation somewhere else. And she had. I found out they were emailing from a second email account I didn't know she had. She'd saved the login info in her browser, which was her mistake. This time what I found hit harder. They'd gone beyond talking, they'd met in person. First at a coffee shop across town, then in hotels. Reading those emails felt unreal. She even told him I'd seen their Facebook messages and called me jealous. He replied that she was worth being jealous over. She confessed to him that she'd still had feelings for him after they broke up, and that if I hadn't started dating her when I did, she probably would have gone back to him. That crushed me, realizing I'd been a consolation prize all along. From there, the emails showed how it escalated. He convinced her to meet up, just to reconnect. She pretended to be hesitant, then suggested a public coffee shop. When he told her I didn't need to know, that was enough to sway her. They began meeting during her breaks and in the hours after work before I got home. I documented everything. By then I wasn't shocked, just disappointed. I'd suspected this from the moment I saw she was defending him. I never planned to forgive her or work things out. She'd gone back to him knowing how I felt, and that made her decision clear. I was done. Edit. People keep asking why I didn't just leave when I first found out she was talking to him. Simple, she hadn't crossed the line yet. I wanted to give her the rope to either pull herself back or hang herself with. If I'd left then, she could have told everyone I dumped her just for saying hi to an ex. So I gave her one last chance, and just like I expected, she failed. We're clear, respectful, and totally within your right to say, hey, this makes me uncomfortable. And instead of taking that seriously, she doubled down and played it off like you were the problem, like you were just being insecure. And the part about her saying she would have gone back to him if you hadn't come along. Geez, that's just cruel. Like your whole relationship was plan B and you never even knew. Date. I know it's been a long while since my first post, but I was just working through a tough period in my life. I wanted to make sure everything was fully sorted before I came back so I could get this all down in one more date. I'm glad to announce that I'm finally a free man. So I'm here to report how everything went down. First, I didn't tell Marie immediately that I knew about her and Travis. Instead, I went straight to a lawyer to file for divorce. I was planning to move out as soon as I told her I was leaving her. When that day finally came, I didn't confront her or ask why she'd done it. Just stated matter-of-factly that I'd seen her emails with Travis and I knew they'd slept together. She started with the whole, wait, I can explain routine. But I cut her off. I said I don't want her explanation. Already know why she'd done it. She still had feelings for Travis. Good for her. But I wasn't going to stick around where I wasn't wanted. I wasn't going to scream at her or ask why she'd thrown away 5 years. Because I didn't care about her anymore. She meant nothing to me. She cried She claimed that none of what I said was true. She said she didn't have any feelings for Travis and she just got caught up in his charm. I just said it was funny that he charmed her into hotels, motel, and even his house a few. What a charming guy. She didn't appreciate me making a joke of the situation and asked me to stop. Kept laughing, and that was clearly making her extremely uncomfortable. Told her it wasn't up to her to decide how I reacted to the situation. She was the person in the wrong here, not me. She said that going right to divorce was extreme. I reminded her that I'd already given her a chance to do the right thing. When I discovered she was secretly talking with her ex, I confronted her and told her to stop. Just upped the secrecy and let herself get charmed into his bed multiple times. I started packing my things and she followed me around the apartment, begging me to stop. I didn't engage with her anymore after that. I wasn't in the mood to argue with her. I didn't plan to change my mind, and her excuses were just making me angrier. Once I had all my things packed, I made my way out. Told her that I'd already filed for divorce, and she should expect to be served in the next few days. She tried following me outside, but I told her not to embarrass herself. I wouldn't change my mind, and all she would do is attract the neighbor's attention. He closed the door and went back inside, still sobbing. Got served the day after and called to let me know that she wouldn't sign the papers until we sat down for a discussion. I told her that we'd already had the only discussion we needed to. I'd warned her to stop talking to him and she'd slept with him instead. After that we were done. She insisted that we still needed to talk first, but I didn't give in. After a week she gave up and signed the papers. The divorce itself went smoothly. Don't get me wrong, divorce sucks. It's expensive, stressful, and eats up all of your energy and free time. And if you're a man, there's the constant dread that you're going to lose half of everything. I didn't have much to lose though. We rented her place, and I let her have the furniture because it was all more to her taste than mine. My real fear was that I'd end up having to pay alimony to a woman who cheated on me. My lawyer assured me that I wouldn't have to, because she was able to maintain her current standard of living on her own. Luckily for me, he was right. Something I didn't realize before I made my first post was that Travis is married. When I was compiling the evidence to show to my lawyer, I decided to take another look at his Facebook account. He didn't have his relationship status updated, and his new posts didn't show his wife Rachel. But going back about 3 years, I found a picture of the two of them that he had uploaded just after their wedding. It was tagged in the post, so sending a message to her wasn't a problem. Had a few reasons for telling his wife what had happened. First, I didn't like the idea of her being cheated on and not knowing about it. I knew I wouldn't have wanted to be in the dark if our positions were reversed. There was also selfish reason. Honestly, I just wanted Travis to pay. He knew she was married, but he'd still walked back into our lives just to have another chance with Marie. It didn't seem fair to let him get out of this unscathed. So I told her everything. I attached all the screenshots and messages that I'd taken from her laptop, and I explained how she and Travis knew each other. His wife wasn't surprised. She said that Travis had cheated on her once before and she'd forgiven him. He promised to change, but now he was back to his old ways. I told her what I believed, that cheaters never change and that he'd just do it again if she gave him the chance. That's why I was getting a divorce. She thanked me for letting me know and said she'd deal with it. When I found out just how she chose to do that, I was surprised. She seemed so calm and collected when we talked about it. Didn't expect her to smash Travis's windows and slash his tires, but that wasn't even the most extreme thing she did. I found out that she'd stalked Marie's LinkedIn to find out where she worked. Then she waited for her in the parking lot and confronted her. Rachel loudly accused her of being a home wrecker in front of her co-workers. Marie had been so humiliated that she started crying and attacked her. They got into a fight, and apparently Rachel got the upper hand until security pulled them apart and called the police. Marie was threatening to press charges for harassment and assault, even though she was the one who started the actual physical fight. Travis was begging her not to press charges because he was still trying to work things out with Rachel. She told me that she was leading him on, but she was already filing for divorce. I almost wanted to think she'd gone overboard, but I knew Travis and Marie deserved everything they gotten most of my information from Rachel since we'd been keeping in touch once in a while. I recommended my divorce lawyer to her, and she gave me occasional updates about how things were going. But my next big update came from Marie herself. She called me one evening trying to get me to feel bad for her. She said she had to quit her job because of the altercation with Rachel. Her co-workers had been treating her differently, and whispering behind her back. He tried to apply for a transfer, but it was declined. She said she had no choice but to quit because she couldn't take it anymore. She said I was petty for involving Travis's wife and everything that she didn't need to know, and everything could have been handled between the three of us like adults. Told her I hate her for saying the three of us as if he was an actual participant in our relationship. Said I didn't need lessons on how to keep secrets from her. I didn't care if the two of them were comfortable hiding their affair from their spouses. Wasn't like them, and it wasn't my fault if Rachel didn't choose to handle the situation in the same way I did. Wasn't ready to accept responsibility for her actions, of course, and kept implying that everything was my fault. She also said she felt like I owed her alimony. I was baffled and reminded her that the court had awarded her nothing. Then she shared her twisted logic. The court hadn't ordered alimony because she had a job when the divorce was finalized, since she lost her job as a result of my actions. According to her, I owed her alimony. I decided things were getting out of hand at that point. I told her I'd pay if a court ordered me to, and that she should talk to her lawyer again about it. Talk to my lawyer about what she said, and he nearly fell out of his chair laughing. Feels safe to say she's not getting that alimony she's after. She didn't get a lot of things she wanted. She wanted to have some fun with her ex and keep her husband at the same time. Now her husband left her, and her ex decided his wife was the one he wanted to fight for. Now she was out of a job with no alimony to fall back on. I didn't feel bad for her. All I did was set boundaries, and she'd cartwheel across. And I'll never let anyone make me feel bad for setting up solid boundaries. I'm impressed you looped in Rachel. Didn't have to, but it was the right thing to do. No one deserves to be in the dark like that, especially when there's a repeat offender involved. That woman might have gone nuclear, but I can't say they didn't earn it. She did what she needed to in her own way. And now everyone involved is dealing with the reality they created. 4. Marie trying to spin this into some weird sob story about your ruining her life. That's rich. She ruined her life. Actions have consequences. Didn't make her sneak around with her. You didn't make her lie, cheat, and ignore your boundaries. You certainly didn't make her throw away a marriage that you were still clearly invested in. She did that every single step of the way. What's the most unprecedented way you or someone you know found out a partner was cheating? Share your stories with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today on our space. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time.